You got to hit the record button, which you already did.
I was like, did he just shut it off? So like, did we actually
No,
like
it just
record
didn't
by not
announce.
recording?
No, we're good. It announced. So there
All
you
right.
go, everybody.
All right.
That's how it works.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Surf and Sales Podcast. My good friend Richard Harris and I, Scott Leese, are here to navigate this episode. We leave tomorrow for Costa Rica. I'm going to be there through the end of the month. How long are you going to be there, Richard?
I leave tonight because I love doing that red eye,
Oh, wow.
But I'm only there till the 19th, but I got to come back early because I've got a gig. Like I'm flying from there to a gig. So I think I get a hall pass from you if I'm making money.
Yeah, I'll give you a
To,
hall pass for making money.
yeah,
You should expect like at least five text messages a day of me like making fun of you for not being there. Still, though,
I'm sure.
just
I'm
be,
okay with
just be
that.
ready. Just be ready for
I'm,
that.
I'm just going to send you a copy of the check.
Yeah, that's right. Send me a copy of the check.
Tell you
Yeah.
to fuck off.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. We're brought to you all today by a couple of good friends of ours. The first one I'm going to mention is our friends at Orem. Dial up your revenue. Orem is the AI powered live connection platform to supercharge your sales team. And our next one is Tech Sales Accelerator. Launch your six-figure tech sales career in 2020. I'm going to say 2025 because you know what? 2024 is almost gone. Launch your six-figure tech sales career in 2025. No experience necessary. Check out techsalesaccelerator.com. Richard, tell them about Peel.
Yeah, our good friends over at Peel are sponsoring us. And, according to the data, by 2030, 90% of decision makers are going to be Gen Z or millennials in 5 short years. Scott, we're going to be aged out,
I mean,
and me before you.
One of us is already
Which,
aged out.
yeah, well, you should be nicer to yourself. But check out our friends at Peel because let's face it, these folks are digitally native, right? It used to be this meeting could be an email. Well, now this meeting could have been a TikTok video, right? Like, so you are going to have to engage them in different and better ways. So check out our friends at getpeel.ai to help you with this. And now on to the show.
Onto the show. We are here with Kristi Faltorusso, who is the Chief Customer Officer at a company called Client Success. She's also, I think, if I'm saying this right, a host of 4 different podcasts. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's start with tell everybody a little bit about what your role is, what you do, that type of thing. And then I want to dig into
before I
how
even
the
get
heck
into
does
that,
somebody
guys,
host 4
listen,
episodes?
I got to say, before I even tell people who I am or why I'm here or what I plan on, the havoc I plan on causing on today's episode, you guys invited me to the show, but you didn't invite me to Costa Rica. So I think right there, we're already off on a bad foot.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how committed I
Yeah.
am to continuing in this conversation. So you're all leaving today?
Well, Richard apparently leaves tonight. I leave tomorrow morning at like 6 a.m. So we're off to a bad start, Richard. We got to dig ourselves out of the doghouse.
Well,
I want
I
to go
blame
to
this
Costa
one on
Rica.
Scott. Dude, you know what? The
Man.
next one's coming up in a year. We'll see
Well,
you
next
in
time you
November.
guys decide to invite me, can we do a live recording somewhere
Yes.
sunny, warm,
Yes.
by a beach, by a
That's
pool? Would be my preference.
that's how it
By the
should
way,
be.
everything we do down there, the little bit of content we do at Surf and Sales, and we do some content, is always by the beach or pool every
See?
time.
I
So,
would be a
and
perfect
with a
fit for
cocktail.
that.
So
See, like, well, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not that fun because I don't drink, but I would have like
I
the
don't either.
fanciest mocktail with like 8 pieces of fruit and umbrella. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. So
make
now
that
that I've
work.
gotten this all off my chest and my bitterness is subsiding, I will introduce myself. So, guys, thank you so much for inviting me. My name is Kristi Faltorusso. As you mentioned, I am the Chief Customer Officer at a company called Client Success. We're a customer success management platform. So, what we say is we manage from new to renew. So, everything post initial sales, that's our whole ecosystem. I've been with Client Success now for 4 years. I oversee our entire post-sales team. That is success, services, and support. I've been in the customer success space for about almost 13 years now, a little over 12 years. I've been at 5 different startups, building, scaling, and transforming B2B hypergrowth SaaS companies in the customer success space. Prior to that, I spent a decade of my career in marketing. Nobody ever cares about that, but it's probably the most fun I ever had professionally. But now I'm stuck in the SaaS space, trying to make customers see the value in our products.
That's because
love
marketing
how
is never held accountable to a number. That's why it's the most
And
fun.
that's
There's
why
no
I like it.
stress.
It's a lot of
There's
fluffy,
no
right? The
stress.
attribution. Nobody can figure out an attribution model here that actually
No.
makes sense. So everything is working together.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's perfected that speech. I think she's used that before.
I
I want to know about
Once
how
or
you're
twice.
hosting 4 podcasts because we co-host 1 each, and that's plenty. You are, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Richard. Kristi is episode 453 ish,
somewhere
That's
around
a
there.
lot.
We've done a lot, so I'm trying to think to myself, how
Okay.
could I do 3 or 4?
So how many times are you guys releasing weekly, or what, like, what's your cadence?
It's at least 1 episode a week typically. The first year we did the podcast, we released 200 episodes. We came out like Netflix style, dropping the whole season, boom.
Well, first of all, everybody loves that. Everyone hates right now what Hulu and Netflix are doing, which is like, come back every Wednesday at 8 p.m. First of all, my curfew is like 8 p.m. So I'm not even up in time to watch these. So whatever you guys are doing, Netflix, Hulu, it sucks. We hate it. Just drop the whole season. Let us go on with our lives.
I don't know. Sometimes I get frustrated because then I'm like, well, now I got to wait a year and a half for the next season.
You're going to wait a year and a half anyway, 4 weeks in. Because also, can we talk about the fact that none of these shows have enough episodes?
Yes, there's also
like you're giving me 8. You're giving me 8.
Yeah.
I like in.
I just watched season 4 of Slow Horses. There's 6 episodes in the whole season.
Every show I'm watching now, it's like less and less episodes, and the episodes are trash anyway. Where I'm like, I have 30,000 questions coming out of it, and now I got to wait like at least a year and a half before the next series comes out. I don't know. Clearly, I am bitter about a lot of things, guys.
Scott, I
should really screen your guests, guys.
That's why you're here. No, that's why you're here. You gotta let it out as a host of 4 podcasts.
All right, so let's talk about this. Yes, so I'm on a bunch of different podcasts, but here's the thing. I don't release 500 episodes a year like you all do. I'm not Joe Rogan. This isn't a full-time job for me. So all of them are basically on a weekly or bi-weekly cadence. I do a lot of batch recording though. So I will record a bunch of episodes up front and then kind of slow release them because I do keep on my bi-weekly cadence. Unlike you guys, I don't have 12,000 sponsors of my podcast. So in order for me to fund this, it's out of pocket. And my hubby says I can only afford what I can afford. So this is kind of where we're at right now.
Do you enjoy podcasts just for the sake of podcasting, or do you enjoy podcasting because it leads to other business clients, other revenue? Is it a means to an end?
I wish my podcasts were leading to a lot of revenue. They're clearly not yet. Listen, I'll tell you my favorite podcast, selfishly, is the one that I do solo. It's called She's So Sweet. It was sweet is spelled SUITE. And I basically interview C-level women in tech. And it's all about their professional journey, how they get there, obstacles they had to overcome, successes that they've had, advice that they're offering. And honestly, I started that podcast as a gift to my daughter, who's 16. We're looking at colleges now. And I thought about my professional career. I grew up in a time where women just weren't in leadership roles. I didn't have a lot of mentors. I didn't have a lot of help. In fact, quite the opposite. There was a lot of backstabbing. There was like, everybody just trying to climb their way to the top. And so a lot of icky behavior took place. So I failed my way forward more than I succeeded forward. And I thought about my daughter and her friends and their future. And I want them to be able to see more women doing really great things. And I want them to hear the stories of successful women. So I started that podcast for my kid.
That's awesome. Well, if anybody's listening and you're a C-suite lady, reach out to
please
Kristi.
reach out to me. I also am trying to find more guests, especially if you're a CFO. CFO females, hard to come by.
Yeah. Now that you say that, 0 of the CFOs I ever had were female.
See, shame. Lots of smart women out there probably doing really cool stuff, not sitting in the CFO spot. But if you are, or if you know somebody, please send them my way. That's like a big hole that I have in my audience so far, my guests. Lots of like CROs, CCOs, CMOs, chief people officers, HR, all that stuff. A lot of CEOs, not a lot of CFOs. That's the one that I'm trying to like nail next.
I have a question. You mentioned failing your way forward. Can you give us an example?
Oh, God.
How it's better now, like what you learned from it? Because I think that happens. I think it happens still, unfortunately, to any minority group, not just women, but, but it happens to everybody to a certain degree.
I think it's just like a leader. I think it's something that all leaders go through, right? I don't think that any leader has gotten to where they are because they've only been successful. In fact, my greatest learnings have been through failure. I'll give you one example. Customer success hasn't been around as long as marketing or sales has, right? So we don't have the structure and the playbooks of kind of like understanding really what makes great customer success at various companies. Now, I think we have more knowledge than we did 12 years ago, right? When I kind of started my career in customer success 13 years ago. So my second company, I basically thought I could go in and take everything I did at the first company and like create that as a playbook, right? Like I can just go do everything I did and I'll just do it here. And it's obviously going to work because it was so successful at the first company. I failed so miserably and so loudly because I was convincing everybody that I had all the answers and I knew exactly what we were going to do. And here's how we were going to do it. And man, was I wrong. And so, what I learned very quickly there is that every company, doesn't matter if you're in SaaS, doesn't even matter if you're in the same industry or space, you have a different product, you have different buyers, you have different product market fit, different maturation, different resources. All of the things that make you uniquely you as a company require a different customer success motion. It is just a fact. And so there is no wash, rinse, repeat. There are fundamentally certain things you do in customer success that you would do company to company, but your strategy, your approach to this looks very different. And I went and I thought, nope, plug and play, going to take exactly what I did, try to do it here, did not work. Not only from a resourcing allocation, my leverage ratios on how many customers I had per CSM, the playbooks that I was running, how I was looking at data, the data I was looking at just about every part of it was off. And so I was able to recover, not gracefully and not in a way that saved enough face, but I recovered, I rebounded. I think the emotional rebounding was probably the hardest part for me is like, how do you like come back from that when I feel like I lost a lot of clout internally? But I did, we made a lot of changes. We pivoted fast and then we got things back on track. I hired a lot of really great people from that point forward. And honestly, after I left the company, about maybe just shy of 2 years of being there, I chose to leave. I went on to my next role, and a lot of the folks that I hired actually stayed for many years after and became like the next directors and next VPs. And so it was really cool for me to see the legacy that I created through some process and infrastructure, but more importantly, the people that I brought on board actually be that next line of leadership.
Scott, this is you. This is the female version of you.
Why? Because we talk too much?
No.
We're bitter.
Yes,
definitely that part. Yeah.
Are you Sicilian?
I am. So I'm Italian and Puerto Rican.
All right. So, there it is. No, yeah. No, just I've watched Scott build and scale things very successfully in the same way and tear something down, rebuild it, have to rebuild it for an organization that didn't exist before. Like Scott's been really good at finding those companies that were converting paper to SaaS, and there is no playbook for that. And he's built it, and then he does well and moves along, but he's got a whole list of people that have been promoted under him, followed behind him, leaves them behind, like you said, and leaves it in good hands, so anyway, so it just feels very similar, plus the bitterness.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's where I feel a really strong alignment with Scott is around our bitterness. So
yeah. But the part of you, maybe you agree, I assume that you do, but part of, if not the most rewarding part of being a leader is helping these other people get to wherever it is that they want to go next. And then you end up having this sort of like coaching tree underneath you. It's like, you're I'm the big old redwood tree, right? And all these other people who have come up underneath me are now C-suites, VP, director, founders, all these things. And you look back and it's like, in the last 20 years, like I met Kristi 20 years ago, she was at entry level AE, and now she's the CEO of this $100 million company. And it's just like, shit. And it's something to be proud of. It's something to be proud of. It means a lot. So,
I mean, listen, I agree. I think I tell everybody, listen, the thing that would make me the happiest is if I could see anybody who's ever worked under me in any capacity surpass where I am professionally, right? I want to see everybody do better than I am. I think that would be a huge mark of my impact in any space, in any organization. And so I have loved watching the professional journey for so many folks who came up under me. And listen, whether it's because of me or in spite of me, I don't know. But the success that I've been able to kind of develop in the customer success space has, I think, really inspired me, right? It helps motivate me and keeps me grounded and allows me to be focused that the work that I'm doing does matter. And it's not just our customers that benefit from it, right? It's our people.
I want to ask a couple like real quick answer random questions.
Okay,
Again.
let's go.
Favorite underrated CS metric?
Oh, underrated.
Yeah, like, don't say NRR,
Okay,
you know.
I'm not. I'm going to say something that everybody hates, and I'm going to say NPS. And I'll
Oh,
explain to you
yeah, let's hear this because
why.
I hear a lot of people hate
Nobody likes
on
it.
that.
You want to know why?
Yeah.
Because nobody knows how to use it. That's why. Okay, so let me explain.
It's too you're
NPS.
too vulnerable. People are afraid of it. They think they're
No,
perfect.
listen. NPS is not a metric that I use to really establish satisfaction across the book or any kind of sentiment. And I'll explain to you why. Most companies have such a small portion of their customers and individual logos represented in the response rate that it's not a scientifically relevant sample size for it to be meaningful to a company. But what I love about NPS is our ability to see, did a company that gave me a 7 now give me an 8? Did a company that gave me a 2 give me a 5? Did somebody leave me some feedback? Did somebody who's never responded respond this time around? Did an executive who we haven't been able to engage with, did they respond? And now the reason why all of those outputs are really powerful, it allows me and my team to intervene. It now establishes a gateway for me to go have a conversation, to have a dialogue, to make things better, to triage, to mitigate risk. I love it because of the action that it drives, not for the data, not for the story it's telling me. Because I actually don't believe that it has a story. I love to see how I can put it to use.
It's almost like a catalyst for you to take action.
Yes.
Yeah. It's lead
and for
gen.
all, listen, think about it. The most risk in a book anyway is all the people that don't respond. It's not even the people that actually give you a score. I'm like, listen, even if you give me a 1, you at least took the time to give me a 1. At least you logged into my product and saw the survey to give me a 1. What about the people that didn't respond? Are you even logging in? Like, bigger risk over there. So for me, it's all about what is the action of submitting an NPS score telling me? And then how do I leverage that to my advantage so we can go do something different?
If nothing else, it tells me you're at least a little bit willing to communicate with me.
You're saying I got a shot.
Yeah.
That's right.
Here's a chance.
It's like lead gen for your renewals.
Yes.
Right? Those are the most, like that's a really interesting approach that I had not.
So I don't use the number. I could care less if it's a 48, a 24, a 12. Listen, do I like to see the number over time make incremental improvements? Sure. But what I'm looking at even more than the actual NPS number is, do I have more respondents? Do I have a greater number of logos represented in my responses? Am I seeing more from our executive sponsors respond? Like, those are actually the interesting insights that I can garner from that. And themes in the comments. One of the cool things that came out of AI was my ability to take all of the content that came back from commenting in NPS and find themes, and then be able to report those themes back to my customers and say, hey, listen, for all of you that took some time to give me any feedback, here's what you're saying that we do really well. Here's the things that you're saying we don't do great. And based on everything we've heard, here's the things that we're going to go do. So it allows us to actually even provide a roadmap that we can share with our customers around what we're going to prioritize based on their feedback.
Next random question.
Let's
go. Really good. That's a really good argument. Next random question. Favorite CS executive comp structure? I asked this because I've seen lots of different ones.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like theirs.
Yeah, I'm going to do 70-30. The 30 is a variable. I want 60% of that variable tied to revenue metrics exclusively. The other percentage of that I want broken down on MBOs.
And what might those MBOs be?
I think they should be different because I think
too unique.
It should be, yeah. I think it should be in line with whatever the company's priorities are in a given year or quarter or half of year, whatever it is. But each CSM should be working on projects or be focused on things that are directly in line with the company's mission and their priorities. So that's why I'm saying, like, and MBOs. The other thing is, listen, customer success people philosophically, and we won't get into this, like they don't think of themselves as salespeople. I say that they are salespeople. That's why I'm putting so much of their variable tied to a revenue target. But they don't want to believe that they're not, and they want to have some control over their destiny. If they didn't care about how, like, the control of it, they would be fully in sales, right? No risk, no reward. I think because they're a little risk adverse when it comes to their earnings, having something significant tied to an MBO allows them to feel like they can control their destiny. Because the reality is, listen, if you're a CSM and your product is shit, like you actually don't have control of your earning potential if it's all based on that, right? Like a salesperson, it's like you're selling a vision. Customer success, you're selling a reality. And so if that reality sucks,
She,
it
she
is really
basically
hard to
she
close
basically
that.
just said it's a lot easier to lie and make your variable than
I
tell
mean,
the
like,
truth and
listen,
make your
you
variable.
use different words than I use. I say vision and
Yeah.
reality. You say lie. I'm not saying that we're far off base here, but
Yeah.
yeah, you
Okay.
know what I mean? Like, I
Okay.
want to control my destiny. It sucks. Customer success, we are stuck in a tough spot that people don't want to either acknowledge or they don't give a shit, which is fine
Yeah.
either way. But the reality is that we cannot customer success our way out of a crap product, crap services, poor ICP, poor
Yeah.
alignment, like all these things, like those are not in our control. So I do feel to some extent you've got to give people the ability to control some of that revenue that they're earning,
Yeah.
their take home.
Those MBOs, do you weight? Are you in favor of weighting them equally? So there's like 60% is tied to revenue. That leaves 40% other stuff. Is it like we're going to pick four and they're each worth 10%?
I think
Or
it depends. I mean, like,
it
honestly, like,
depends.
I don't have really
There's
hard
a
feelings towards that. Like, listen, if there is one big company focus, like, I'm making this up. Company says, our goal is to get 50% of our customers to agree to be an advocate. And advocacy looks like these 20 things. It doesn't matter, right? You're referenceable, you do a case study, you're a speaker at an event, whatever. I don't even care what they are. Great. Like, then if that's the company's goal, if that's the company's main priority, then I only need them to have one MBO because they should be working and maniacally focused on that one thing. And this goes back to just focus in general, right? I think that people that lack focus lack the ability to achieve these specific outcomes. So I'm actually not a fan of giving people too many things because
yeah.
CSMs, they already
That's
have too
where
many things to
that's where I
focus
was
on.
starting. That's where I was starting to go. Is just like, fuck me, this comp plan is like so complicated. I can't even
Right,
figure out
right,
how
right.
to
Listen, I
explain
don't
it
need a
to somebody. It was
PhD to
like,
understand what my
yeah,
paycheck take home is going to look
Yep.
like.
Yep.
I'm
So
not good with numbers anyway.
I'm really sorry for hogging the mic. But I've got one
No,
last
Richard,
question,
shh.
and I'll let Scott ask a couple of questions. But I want to talk about
first time ever.
this is true. Um, I think we should maybe have a third co-host on our podcast because Kristi's
I
fun.
think I could spice things up here. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Yes, agreed.
She does have some
Um,
experience with
she
podcasting.
does. So here's my question. Everybody's trying to expand, right? And that's the goal. And everybody's stressed out about, well, who handles and closes the expansion, right? Is it customer success? Is it sales? I have a very different question. As the SDR role is shifting, should SDRs be calling into current clients to figure out the expansion path? Because they're unafraid to make those calls. Whereas a salesperson often doesn't want to talk to the customer because they're like, I don't want to deal with any bullshit. Customer success, in some cases, customer success is much better at the success part than net new revenue on top of things like that. So I'm curious, have you ever seen anybody utilize the SDR to just go do lead gen within current clients?
So, answer is yes. And here's the thing though, I think it works in certain organizations depending on your product. If you have a product where you are just selling licenses, more of the same, right? It's just a true expansion in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need an SDR to call in, right? Like it's a license model. When my customers need more licenses, they're going to go and buy more licenses.
But do
Where there
they?
is, where
I don't think they do.
I mean, my customers do. When they need more, they buy more. But what I'm saying is, I think that model works when it's in a cross sell or an upsell motion. When you're either selling net new product or you're selling into new business units, and there is a unique use case, there is a different budget, a different buyer. In those cases of like a true land and expand model, absolutely bring in the SDRs because it's not a motion that the CSM should be focused on anyway. I'm okay with the CSMs owning revenue to the extent that they're going to go and help the current customer, the current buyer who they're currently working with buy more product. Absolutely. But when you're trying to tell a CSM now, you're going to go and you have to go do a white space account map here, go find out the buyer, the use case, the budget. You're doing a whole new sales motion. I don't know that the CSM should be focused on that. I think it takes away from their focus on helping the current customer get value. So I'm all for any model that makes sense for the business. I do not have strong feelings on CS exclusively owning revenue or not owning revenue. Like, I'm not dying on any hill here. I think every business, you have to consider what is the model, what is the motion, and then who are the right people with the right skills to do the thing.
Got it. All right. Well, that confirms a belief I've been pondering for a while, particularly since Scott thinks the SDR role is going to go away. I'm like, well, how do we save it? So see
Do
if
we
they
want
can
to
come
save
to-
it? Do we want to save it?
She just stole the words right out of my mouth. I said, why do we want to save it?
Yeah.
So-
I mean, like, I'm all for, like, listen, I think there is a natural evolution of all roles over time. I mean, there is a product. Listen, I found this girl on TikTok and her name is escaping me and I'm very embarrassed because I do love her content. But she was just recently talking about this like AI product that basically is like your AI SDR. And it basically does everything an SDR would do. I mean, down from like the call script, like you sound like you're talking to a person, and the way that the prompts are being surfaced and the response, I mean, like, it is so good. I listened to the recording. I was like, oh my God, that's so cool.
It's also
That's going to
illegal.
replace it. AI and the future of technology is
illegal.
going to disrupt all of these spaces. And I'm telling you, like, I don't know. I don't think that we should be married to any role. Hell, I'd be happy if customer success goes away one day because there's a better way to do it, a smarter way for businesses to help customers achieve value. So I think that anytime we are trying to figure out how do we save a role, I don't know. I think we're doing a whole disservice to the future of innovation and tech and just, I don't know. I think we're not being progressive enough.
That's a disruptive mindset right there, Richard.
That is, Scott. That is. I think
I want to be. I would love to see tech. I don't want to be around anymore. I don't want to be doing this hell in 10 years. I don't want to be doing anything. I want to be on a beach in Costa Rica with you.
She really does. She really does sound like a CS version of me.
See,
Yes,
I want to blow everything up as well. It's just
I think. Oh my God! If you saw, Scott, if you saw what's in my little red notebook here, this is.
Do you talk about this kind of
disruption.
content? Is this the type of content and thoughts
What's
that
in
you
the notebook?
write about and share?
I
Or do you
can't
keep
tell
that
you,
stuff?
Richard, because other
Oh.
people are listening to us.
So, well, like give us one
it
or
was
two
just-
nuggets that are
I
in the
can't
red
give-
notebook.
She still works for somebody else. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
Richard, I got to be
Yeah.
employed for a little while longer.
Yeah.
Not after
So
they
I can
listen
figure
to
out a way
this.
to make these ideas come to life. But I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you invite me back on this podcast 12 months from now, we're going to be having a very, very different conversation around what the space looks like.
I definitely want to have that conversation with you in 12 months because I want to know what your how you got to where you're going to be. in 12
I am
months.
putting
I
all
wanna
of
hear
my
that
predictions
story.
in this notebook, and I'm telling you, I'm dating it all. I will take pictures with my phone. I have some very strong thoughts about what's going to happen in this space. And I am doing this for myself, for validation, to see how smart or stupid I am. But I want to see if what I'm thinking, if anyone is smart enough to disrupt this landscape the way I feel like it will be disrupted.
That's amazing. That's really, really amazing.
I think that we're all thinking too small. And when I think about how all these SaaS companies are trying to embrace AI, oh man,
yeah.
everyone is so small-minded. It is because they're trying to preserve the technology that they've built. They are not ready to throw out the baby with the bathwater. And I'm telling you, in some of these spaces and some of these technology companies, I'm like, if you keep this product, it'll be a slow bleed. Either sell your company now and make a little profit while you still can, or go and think about what does the next version of this look like and try to maintain some kind of parallel path where you can kind of keep what you got going there because it's going to feed the other engine.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, is that, all these end use things are, what was a product is now just going to be a feature of another product in 6 months.
Well, listen, consolidation is the biggest theme that we're all feeling right now. Anybody who's in SaaS, and I don't care what industry you're serving, you are feeling consolidation. And that is, we're just scratching the surface. It is going to be bigger and it's going to be more disruptive. But I'm telling you, even the products, everything will be consolidated into something that will eventually be obsolete. I promise you. And I know that there's this idea like too big to fail. Yeah, we saw that with the banks. Okay, I'm just telling you, we are going to see some massive players in all of these spaces see some different, like some big shifts.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm with you. I think one of the reasons people don't like to hear that or listen to that is because it scares them. They worry about their
It's job security.
They worry about their own job security, all that kind of stuff.
But
So they'd rather bury their head in the sand.
We are too small-minded. I don't think about that as job security. I want to figure out, great, well, what is the next value add I can bring to a company? Because listen, there'll never be a world where no people are needed. But where do your skills bring value if the entire market shifts and everything is flipped on its head? What's the next thing that you should be doing? Where do you add value that technology doesn't? If we continue to be scared of innovation and this progressive thought process, we're doing a huge disservice to our future. It's crazy.
That's why I'm glad
You
to
need
be
to stop
2
hiding.
years older than Scott. So
Yeah,
I'll get to
you'll be
retire
out.
soon.
You could just watch. You could watch
Yeah.
from the sidelines
and
Richard.
laugh and point. So we gotta, time flies with you, Kristi, and we appreciate it. In a minute, we're going to turn it over to you to let you ask us a question or two. But first, want to give a shout out to our friends, getpeel.ai. Go check them out as you're looking to encourage and improve your conversations with your clients and customers. They've got some sweet stuff going on over there. Getpeel.ai. Talk to Brandon over there, the founder, CEO, and leader. Very innovative and disruptive guy. Scott, your other two good friends.
Yeah, check out techsalesaccelerator.com. They're a collection of courses delivered to help you land an entry-level sales role, SDR role at a tech company you love, and become a consistent six-figure earner. That's techsalesaccelerator.com. And check out Orem. Orem is the all-in-one AI dialing platform for all-around better sales, with a suite of products for stuff like coaching, analytics, and a whole bunch more. Check them out at orem.com. Okay, Kristi, you're up. What, if anything, do you want to ask us? What questions for us? How can we be helpful to you?
From your perspective and your experience, what is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to customer success?
My biggest pet peeve when it comes to customer success. My perception is they have not the same sense of urgency that I do or that sales does. That's my perception. You might be a different case, but as a sales leader and a sales person, I have admittedly very little patience. That's the downside. The upshot is, and the positive is, my sense of urgency is typically way more extreme than other people. So I move fast. Yes. I get things done. My motor revs 100 miles an hour all the time. So if you tell me to do something right now, you'll have it done in the next 15 seconds. Like, I try to move that fast.
It's exhausting being a friend of Scott's.
Yeah. But the joke is, like, Richard will have an idea, and by tomorrow I'll have published something and it's like already done and I'm monetizing it already. So I move very fast. So my perception with my experience with CS folks over a couple of decades is they don't have that same sense of urgency. So if I said to you, hey, so-and-so, needs some help, can you respond to them? You're like, yes, absolutely. In my mind, I'm thinking you're going to wrap up whatever you're doing right now, and then you're going to deal with that. But actually what happens is you just made a note, and like 72 hours later, you're finally getting to that thing. And I'm over here like, what the fuck? Right? So my perception is y'all don't have the same sense of urgency collectively that sales does and sales leaders do.
Okay, I gotta dig into this a little bit here, Scott. So why do you think that what is urgent to you should be urgent to somebody else?
Oh, God.
Don't they have their own set of priorities? Don't they have their own set of priorities?
We don't have enough time in the day. We don't have enough time in the day for this.
Richard's about to be a marriage counselor real quick.
Oh my God. Yeah. Go ahead. Answer briefly, Scott.
Well, yes, but I don't feel like I'm asking you to like adjust your priorities. I'm just asking you to go faster. It's actually, you could eliminate my request of you.
Same thing.
Hold on. No, it's not. You could eliminate my request of you. Okay. I have a list of 10 things I need to get done. You have a list of 10 things you need to get done. My experience is that I will finish all 10 of those things way faster than anybody in CS will finish their 10 things. And that's a pet peeve.
Okay. All right. Listen, you're right. This could actually be another episode. The only thing I will say to that is, like, I don't know that it's fair to say that all of the 10 things take the same amount of time, level of effort, right? So I think it depends on what are those 10 things.
Sure. I think that's fair.
But listen, if your ask is small, lightweight level of effort, right? Like, send an email, send a follow-up. Hey, I introduced you to somebody. Yeah. Can you respond? Sure. In those cases, like, listen, I am somebody where I'm like, I don't want another thing on my list. So if you tell me to do something and it is a low calorie, low effort thing, I'm just going to do it because I don't want it on my list. I don't want any of your stuff on my list, Scott. Yeah.
No,
your stuff is going to infect my list, actually.
Yeah. I get it. And that's the type of, like, mentality that I want in a CS partner.
Yeah, I can see that.
I'm just telling you that in my experience, I have not had that.
Okay. I'm sorry for your loss.
Is the question what annoys me more about Scott or more annoys me about customer success? So.
All right, Richard, what is your pet peeve when it comes to customer success
Scott
or
Leese,
customer success
my pet
professionals?
peeve to Scott Leese is my pet peeve is, and it's gotten better, is that I don't think customer success realizes how good they are at sales, when in fact, so many customer success people are better at it than a lot of salespeople naturally. They're naturally more curious, where salespeople are curious enough to drive their own sense of urgency, case in point, as opposed to customer success, which is curious by nature in the essence of understanding and solution solving, which I think is the lost art in some sales, right? So
All right,
I
well,
feel
so
like
listen,
that.
you know this, Richard. CS people feel very adverse to owning revenue, right? Like it's like,
Right,
oh God, sales, gross, get me out of here.
right. It's a dirty word.
What would you advise customer success leaders to do to help those team members understand the impact that they can have? How would you get them to be less afraid of sales?
Well, I think what people are most afraid of in general is, how do I have the conversation? I don't know how to have this conversation. Nobody's taught me, right? And in sales, there's definitely more, in my belief, energy towards self-education around that. You know what you're signing up for, all those kind of things. And sales leaders teach that. Customer success has to teach initially the onboarding process, the product, the service, to make sure that, people are using, right, that they're getting on board and using the product. And then maybe they're teaching some form of, crisis management, which would align to objection handling in sales, but they're not being taught how to listen for a certain opportunity and then what to actually say to suggest the upsell. So the fear is that nobody's even taught them. So that's what I teach people to do when I come in, is I teach customer success people, here's how you do it. Here are the kind of questions you're already asking. Here's how it relates to revenue. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, now I get it. So I think it has to do more with certainly there's a resistance to it, and that's okay. But I think once they learn it, they now understand. And the key piece would be, could we teach them how to listen? Even if they don't want to position it, but then flag it so that Scott can get back to it and close it. Right. That's my belief around it. But I don't think it's a ill-intentioned thing. I don't think it's, yeah, I think it's just because that's how they've been raised, so to speak.
All right. So I agree with you. I do think that there's a lot that I think a lot of enablement needs to take place in this space. I think people that just haven't done sales before don't know how to do it. And so I think that they're adverse to it just because of, to your point, no experience, right? We're all scared of doing things for the first time, and we're scared it's going to go terribly wrong. It's going to backfire. If our focus is customer retention and we scare somebody off because we mismanage it, did we just shoot ourselves in the foot? So I do think that there's a lot of work that we can all do there to, I think, get these folks to understand the value that they could all be contributing to the business if they can get out of their own way and learn how to do this. But the other thing is, you mentioned something, they're also not helping themselves, right? I tell my kid this every day. If you don't know how to do something, go to YouTube. You can learn anything on YouTube. I think it's like the most useful. If I don't know how to do sales, you can go watch 20 different videos on sales right now and get like coaching videos for free on the internet. People aren't helping themselves. Everyone's waiting to be saved. And that's the problem that I have.
Well, that's a generational thing. Everybody's waiting to be saved.
I'm not waiting to be saved. I'm here with my little oars and I'm going to paddle my ass out of here. Like, we're going.
But that's generational.
What, you think I'm old? Richard.
I don't think you're old.
You just assigned me an age.
So, all right. Well, you said you have a 16-year-old daughter. So, I'm going to assume.
Okay, fine. I aged myself.
Yeah. So I don't know. What am I supposed to? I'm an active listener. What can I say? So, but you nailed it yourself. You even said it's generational, right? Like it's like the fact that I have to tell my kids to go YouTube something frustrates me.
Yeah.
Right. Like that should be
I think
innate
it's crazy.
in them. So
if you don't know how to do something, go figure it out. The problem, like I said, everyone's waiting for somebody to tell them what to do and how to do it. It's a shame.
Yep. So, all right. This has been fabulous. Kristi, where can people get a hold of you? How can they get a hold of you?
Okay. Two places. You can go to LinkedIn. You can look me up, Kristi Faltorusso. I'm the only Kristi Faltorusso on LinkedIn, verified. I think we were the only Faltorusso family left in existence. So you can go find me on LinkedIn. You can also head over to my website, KristiFaltorusso.com. You can find me there. Either way, would love to connect with new people.
Awesome. We appreciate you spending some time with us. And thanks everybody for listening. We'll see you next time on the Surf and Sales podcast. Richard, I'll see you tomorrow in Costa Rica.
Pura vida, baby. Pura vida.
Pura vida. Pura vida.
Pura
Work on the
vida,
accent.
I'm from the South. Come on. So,
bye everybody.
Thanks, guys.